welcome everyone. I'll get us started here this morning. Thank you for joining us this morning for the January Best Practices webinar for 21st Century Community Learning Centers. Today I am joined by Chad Driscoll of Volunteer Iowa, who they're the organization here in the state that oversees national and community service programs here in Iowa. It's a timely subject because we're thinking to summer staffing and also hopefully to the next year of staffing. And while national and community service is not intended to replace a potential staff person, it is a vehicle for getting some really qualified and good committed people to your program to help support youth in your programming. Also, it's timely because the Iowa Afterschool Alliance has an opportunity that we'd like to share with you for the summer of 2019. And so first, Chad is going to get us started to talk about national service generally and some of the programs that you should be on the looking out for when you're thinking national service and bringing that to your program. And then I'm going to finish by going over the summer opportunity through AmeriCorps through the Iowa Afterschool Alliance, and hopefully that generates some interest in potentially being a host site for our program. Thank you, Chad, for being here today. Originally, I had double booked Chad. Thanks to the weather, we have Chad here today, and we're always happy to have him. He's very knowledgeable about national service and volunteering in Iowa, and we're happy to have him. Chad, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Michelle, and thanks everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to just spend a few moments going through some of these slides and kind of give a little bit of an overview. Some of you, I'm sure, have some experience with AmeriCorps and National Service, either through hosting or working with a program or seeing it in your community. Some of you might be new. So as I go through, if there are questions, you can enter it into the chat box or go ahead and just ask it over the audio line as well if you need further clarification. So I'm going to start out with a few kind of general slides about kind of the program at the national level and how it works in different parts of our states, and then drill down to some of the specifics about a few of the AmeriCorps programs. So first, just here's a little timeline of the history and tradition of service in our country. So started way back with the Civilian Conservation Corps, and then Peace Corps started, and then AmeriCorps Vista, and then in '93 became the start of the Corporation for National and Community Service, which is the federal agency that funds and supports national service across the country. And we are now approaching our 25th anniversary of AmeriCorps, which is great. So,
and we might have lost some of the graphics. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. This was, and it's probably available in the downloaded file that you see on there, or if not, we can send it out. This was just a visual of a flow chart of kind of showing what we got as far as kind of a little organizational see of the Corporation for National and Community Service, which is the federal agency that oversees national service and the programs in the country. I'll refer to it as CNCS or the corporation periodically. And then this kind of middle row was going to highlight different groups that actually administer or monitor these service programs, and then underneath them are the different programs that we see. So here is us at Volunteer Iowa. We work to support AmeriCorps state programs in Iowa, and we monitor them, we fund them, we give out support those programs through maybe some statewide recruitment efforts and things like that. We also have a volunteer generation fund grant that we administer, and we also have our own AmeriCorps Vista project that helps support some organizations in the state. And then we also provide some state funding for a senior corps program through RSVP. So just a little bit of that to highlight that there. So a little bit more overview. Again, 93 is when the corporation was established, and national service is here to provide help for organizations to meet the needs and implement projects or ideas in their communities that need additional funding or assistance to tackle those problems, those needs, those interventions that we're working on implementing. And really, through all of this, the corporation is there to provide the people power to address these community needs. So this funding is not just a grant to administer a curriculum or a project, but it actually comes with slots to fill and recruit individuals to serve in to actually implement that. So it is a grant that is a federal grant that comes with both money to administer your idea and your project, but also for these slots, as we call them, or these member service positions that you recruit people to serve in for up to a year. And then, excuse me, when President Obama was in office, there was this Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act that looked to expand national service across the country through a variety of means. So this is just a highlight of some of those pieces. So that was added on to the initial 1993 Act that established the corporation. And then there's state service commissions. So us at Volunteer Iowa, we are obviously the one for Iowa. There's a state service commission, and the rest of the states and territories that administer the AmeriCorps funding in their state. We are here to support the community and volunteering needs through this funding stream, as well as potential other state priorities that we have. So in Iowa, we also have additional priorities that we work on. So as you saw on that, or I tried to show in that organizational chart, we do more than just AmeriCorps state funding. We also help to support volunteer centers. We help to support other national service programs in Iowa, and we also have a goal to just increase volunteerism in our state. And so this then shows our mission and vision. So, we're here to improve the lives and strengthen our communities in Iowa, and our overall, as I said, is to have a place for all citizens to be engaged through service and volunteering in their communities. So this is every state has a state service plan, and that is our blueprint of our work that we do. So ours is involved in a variety of ways, because we have a variety of ways we do our work. So that's just a visual there to show that we work to create programming and programming opportunities for individuals to serve in our state. And then we also work to recognize those volunteers and recognize our service members in our state to thank them for what they're doing in our communities. So as I mentioned, this is just a brief list of some of our work that we do in the state through AmeriCorps. You see there, we also support mentoring programs across the state, our volunteer recognition programs. We also help and support disaster volunteering and disaster response work through our state, working with volunteer centers. And we also do other professional development and advocacy work as well. We have the Iowa Nonprofit Summit that we do every other year with other partners for the state. Support Day of Service activities. So yesterday was just MLK Day of Service. So obviously we provided support to partners and nonprofit organizations who wanted support in that. And then we do a day at the Capitol as well. So that's just a summary of that.
And for those that don't know about the Nonprofit Summit, sorry, Chad, especially if you're a nonprofit, but also for schools that are running some of these more innovative programs like 21st Century, it's a great conference, and it's every 2 years. I believe, Chad, is it this year or next year that it's?
It'll be, the next one will be this year in October of 2019. October 29th and 30th, it'll be in Altoona at Prairie Meadows Conference Center at the Prairie Meadows Casino facility, and we have just put the save the date out later this late summer, early fall is when registration will launch. But yeah, it is a full couple days of keynote speakers as well as a variety of workshops and a chance to network with individuals from across the state.
We'll get information on the summit out along with the recording of this webinar. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump into now diving a little bit more into the AmeriCorps specific programming that the corporation has and that we support in the state. So there are 3 programs under the AmeriCorps umbrella. There's AmeriCorps State National, there's AmeriCorps Vista, and AmeriCorps NCCC. And so I'll spend a moment or two on each of those just to give you a little more view of what these are and what they look like and the differences between them. For AmeriCorps State National, this is what we actually oversee. We see AmeriCorps State programs in Iowa. These are ones we fund. These are organizations that we work with and that provide this kind of direct service programming. So AmeriCorps State National is the largest branch of the 3. There's around 70,000 members each year that serve in these programs and across the country. In Iowa, we have around, I think it's 900 kind of currently in AmeriCorps State National, and members serve with a variety of organizations. They meet a variety of needs. The largest kind of programming area is in education. About 50% of our programs in Iowa are in that focus area, but we have a variety of others that are around environmental or health, healthy features, disaster response, housing, other areas around that. And a couple examples of some host sites have been Habitat for Humanity, Big Brothers Big Sisters, or Boys and Girls Club in our state. I will highlight a few others here in a moment as well. And members that serve in AmeriCorps State National are either full-time or less than full-time in their service. Some are just in the summer, some are throughout a school year kind of length, and some are a full 12 months. So again, there's a lot of variety in this AmeriCorps program, and it just really is based on the need that the organization and the community has at the time that they apply for the funding, and you have a program design that meets that. And so this is a map which we're updating for this year at the current moment. So this is kind of our map of last year where AmeriCorps was, as well as it'll show and highlight the other service volunteer programs we support in the state. But the little golden or yellow circles are where all the AmeriCorps state programs operate. So through our AmeriCorps programs, our AmeriCorps members are serving and supporting all 99 counties in the state. That doesn't mean each county has an actual member serving there, but through their outreach, they support all of those. But we have a variety of host sites or host organizations that apply for these fundings. A lot of them are nonprofits. We have several with higher education through our colleges and universities. They do that. City governments host these programs. We have a couple that are based out of some state departments as well that support their programming, and then obviously we have with the Iowa Afterschool Alliance as well, which Michelle will talk about here in a little bit specifically about that program. But really, we're across the board of different host sites that we have, or host organizations that apply for this funding. about AmeriCorps Vista. AmeriCorps Vista is their service for their service members are really around capacity building for organizations that they serve in, designing programming or doing efforts to build a volunteer program. It's all about helping the organization meet their needs better by doing some capacity building programming. AmeriCorps Vista is developed to really fight poverty in our communities. So all of the AmeriCorps Vista programs across the country have a focus to their work is also working to address or alleviate poverty in those communities or neighborhoods or organizations that they're serving with. These members serve for it's a full-time service opportunity for 1 year. So there is no other options for these types of service opportunities. They are a full-time, year-long commitment that the individuals make with that. And as you can see, there's only about 6,500 members that serve each year, and still they have a variety of project sponsors or sites they serve with as well, similar to state and national. And then finally, AmeriCorps NCCC, which is the third branch of AmeriCorps, the third arm of it. This is a team-based residential program, and they do serve on a variety of projects. Again, similar to AmeriCorps State and National, they also provide support programming in disaster response or park environmental work, youth programming, working to come into cities and neighborhoods to do some trail work or whatever, again, that need is. They travel as a team, they work as a team, they are housed and sleep as a team. It is a team program. Individuals that make up the team are 18 to 24-year-olds. There's a little over 1,000 members that serve each year. They're based out of 4 different campuses across the country, and those campuses serve a region of states, and so they will go out for 6 to 8 weeks at a time to do one of these projects in one of those focus areas. They come back to their campus, kind of debrief and get their training for their next assignment and go out again, and they usually will do maybe 3 to 4 of those projects a year depending on the timing of everything. This also is a full-time service for a 10-month length. So those are the 3 different branches of service, just to give you a little bit more of a detailed picture of AmeriCorps. Some things to keep in mind when we're talking about AmeriCorps and what it is or what it isn't. These are AmeriCorps members that serve in a program. They're not volunteer staff. They're not workers. They're not employees or interns for an organization. It's different. They're an AmeriCorps member that serves with the program, and they earn a living allowance or a stipend as part of their service. That's one of the benefits. They don't earn a salary or wage, so again, it's different than an employee or a volunteer that's free. They are there, they get training in their service, you provide some training, and it's also a professional development opportunity for these individuals that serve. Again, they serve, they don't work, and it's not a job. It's a serve, AmeriCorps member service opportunity. So just something to keep in mind, and again, as Michelle said too, these are individuals, and this program is not meant to displace paid staff or replace staff. They're there to provide support to those service activities. So, what is an AmeriCorps member's role with the program? Again, organization in partnership with their partners and host sites apply for an AmeriCorps grant, and in there they outline what the need is and how these members are going to address that need. And so the service activities the members perform are those that are outlined in that application, and then each member also has their position description. So that's similar to, like, we have position descriptions in our day-to-day job that say these are your priorities, these are your essential functions you're responsible for. A member has that as well. These activities should meet the needs of the community as outlined in the grant. They provide that direct service activity in supporting the intervention and delivering those interventions, those activities that they have. And again, a member is not an intern. They're not a role that can replace or displace staff. They can't just sit there and answer phones. It's a meaningful service opportunity. And there are a variety of other prohibited activities that are outlined in our grant requirements that the overall grant organization needs to ensure that these members are not doing that. And then finally, just a little bit about kind of the program versus what a host site is. So the program, and in this case, we'll transition to Michelle here to talk specifically about the Summer Ladders AmeriCorps program. So when we think about the program, this would be the Iowa Afterschool Alliance, the Summer Ladders staff administering this. They are there. Their responsibilities include administering the grant, adhering to the guidelines that we set out, that the corporation sets out at the federal level, the reporting to us that we require some performance measure reporting, some financial reporting, those things they're required to follow those deadlines. Ultimately, they're recruiting the members and getting people on board. I'll talk about here in a moment of kind of maybe some shared opportunities between the program and host site as well. But any communication that's required between us, the grant administrator and the program, they have that responsibility. They support their host sites of where the members are serving at and the financial management piece and component as well. So that's just a highlight. There's a lot of things obviously that go into that, but that's just a highlight. But when we think of and talk about a host site, the host site is where the members are serving. Sometimes members serve within the program too. It just all depends on how it's structured. But a host site, they're supporting the member, they're supervising the member. They also have a role in recruiting and placing members as well in their specific site. They're helping develop those position descriptions that outline the service activities that they're going to do. The host site provides kind of that local orientation and training support. As I said, supervision of the member. A lot of times host sites have some sort of cost share or in-kind documentation they provide to the grant to support the work. And again, they also have to adhere to any of the guidelines and also any program guidelines and expectations that the program sets out for their host sites. And I'd say too, a lot of host sites assist in the data collection because the members are going to be probably tracking some of their activities to report up to the program. And the program is going to compile it from all their members and host sites to report to us. So there is, again, some of that support and kind of back and forth there. So with that, just again wanted to say thank you for letting me share this. My contact information is there and available for you to feel free to reach out to me if you have questions in general or specifically about AmeriCorps, and then our website and our social media is there to connect with us that way also. But I'll pause and I'll be able to stick on the line here for a little bit as well. If there are any questions or comments, or Michelle, if there's anything else you wanted me to talk about or add on to before you go into some of the specifics about the Summer Ladders AmeriCorps program.
Yeah, in the absence of immediate questions, and I'll give people a little, some time to formulate those if they have them before we move on. Could you give some examples of service across the state where there are AmeriCorps or VISTA or even NCCC could be an option for programs? Do you have some examples of the service that they're engaged in?
Sure. So I guess one example, the Des Moines Public Schools has an AmeriCorps program. They have their members serving, a lot of them are serving as tutors to students in literacy and math, and so they're providing that extra support for identified students that need that. They might just, everyone kind of has different definitions of what that is. A lot of times these students that the members are working with are kind of on the bubble that just need a little bit extra support for a few weeks to get them up to speed on some of the literacy topics or the math skills, so that they can then excel in the classroom. So it's supporting the learning of that. So that's an example. We have a program with Graceland University down in Lamoni. They are based out of Lamoni. They serve in that kind of a 6-county region in south central Iowa. The majority of their members are actually supporting after school or out of school time support to provide those enrichment activities. They base a lot of their activities on the 4D developmental assets and pulling out some of those to provide safe place for youth to be at while parents are still at work. A lot of times, some of those communities don't even have a library or some community gathering space, so their members might be providing their program. So that's another example. And for like that one, a lot of those members are not serving full time. A lot of those are shorter, kind of a minimum time service opportunity because the need is only for a couple hours every afternoon or evening. And so they don't need a member to serve full time every day. They also support a lot of summer programming as well. Another example is with one of our state departments, with Iowa Department of Public Health. They place their members in a variety of host sites across the state, working on prevention strategies. And one of those main prevention strategies is through mentoring programs. So youth mentoring, providing support to youth mentoring programs in the state. They get a member to work on a variety of prevention outreach strategies, education, and supporting engaging more mentors in their program to serve the youth. There's research that supports if you have a mentor, you're less likely to move to risky behaviors and things like that. So those would be a few examples and kind of a variety of host organizations that apply for those the funding and how it kind of structures look different as well.
Thank you. For the programs that are watching this or on the line currently, it's important to distinguish between AmeriCorps State and VISTA, where VISTA is more capacity building. It's a year-long service time frame, and it's focused on capacity building. And I could see VISTA helping, especially 21st century programs in those years where you're looking to sustainability and definitely having to build capacity for providing services once a grant is no longer in the picture. So that's a good example of what a VISTA might do to help a community with a 21st century grant. VISTA, on the other hand, is direct service, and we have an AmeriCorps state opportunity through a grant through Volunteer Iowa that is underwriting a lot of the cost to host a member. And with the direct service, what we're looking for in the Summer Ladders program is for members to develop high-quality lesson plans using a tool called Dimensions of Success. It's originally designed to develop lesson plans in STEM, but we're looking to train members to develop all types of lesson plans, not just STEM, but including STEM, to support youth social and emotional wellness, as well as academic success too. So the member would be engaged in developing high-quality lesson plans, but also facilitating activities that they have developed. And our greater vision is that the member would help other staff and leaders in the program also facilitate lesson plans that they developed, and hopefully how to develop high-quality lesson plans based on the DOS tool. The details of the member service are important, certainly, to sites that are looking to host. Cost is obviously an important factor. And like I said, we have a grant through Volunteer Iowa to underwrite a lot of the cost to host sites. So it comes out to, with the grant, a cost share of just $5 per hour for the summer service period. That period, we're looking to fill 300 hours of service. So that might include program time, planning time, and also professional development time. So you can fill those 300 service hours any way that you would like, obviously with the prioritization on program time and youth time. But it doesn't have to be 300 hours specifically serving youth. Obviously, if they're developing high-quality lesson plans, they're going to need some research and planning time as well. So over the summer, we're looking at a cost share for each host site per member of $1,481. Over the whole summer, the member, like Chad had mentioned, receives a living allowance, and that living allowance is around $3,300 for the summer. So we'll be looking to the host site to help us recruit. Obviously, you want some say in who comes onto your site. But we're also going to be asking host sites to help us with finding housing, potentially, if this member doesn't have housing in the community already, to help us with some of those logistics as well. We're not covering the cost of housing. However, that might be an area where we need to help members. And that's all part of this, the expectations of being a host site, as well as expectations on us as the program leaders to really support members as much as we can, because this is not just, this is not a job. This really is a development opportunity for members. And we think that time on site with after school and summer programs is extremely formative and will grow great advocates and develop great professionals to then enter this workforce, hopefully, and support it later on. Getting back to the costs, the employer of record technically is the Iowa Children's Museum, who is our partner in this grant. And so that means that the host site isn't responsible for payroll, is not responsible for FICA or workers' compensation. That comes through the grant and comes through financial management of the program. So as Chad had differentiated, the program being Iowa Afterschool Alliance and the Iowa Children's Museum, you as the host site would be responsible for the following. And Chad had hit on quite a few of these already. So I'm glad to see that we're hitting those areas in our outreach to you. We obviously want, and you have an interest in this as well, want you to supervise the member. And because this is not your typical employee, we want host sites to go a little bit above and beyond what you would do for just any employee. We want you to coach and mentor the member to meet program goals, to meet the needs of your community, to really to embrace this as a learning experience and really go full throttle in developing those lesson plans, being an excited facilitator, working with youth and getting their hands dirty in this experience, really making the most of the summer. Obviously, discipline is a role for the host site because us as program leaders cannot be on your site every day, and we don't know all the intricacies of your disciplinary policies or your culture. So that's a really important role of the host site. And we also look to you to role model good collaboration, communication, and leadership on your site. Because again, this is a growth opportunity for members, and we want them to have good role models in this experience. We will provide training related to the DOS tool and facilitation, good facilitation of activities, and some of that good after school 101 culture stuff. But we expect you as a host site to have a really strong, I say staff orientation, because you might adapt your staff orientation for the members, but a good orientation to the program, and then also a commitment to ongoing professional development throughout the service period. Because this is summer, we recognize that it might look different than it does during the year, where they have quite a bit of time outside of the 3 to 4 hours that you have after school to do professional development. But if there are opportunities here and there for a leader to coach and mentor the member, we consider that professional development. And then the Iowa Afterschool Alliance provides training early in the service period to get them ready for service at your site. That includes that DOS training, the facilitation training, and the After School 101. We'll do a mid-year check-in and then a final end of service training. So you won't be responsible for the big trainings. We expect you to do the orientation, hopefully a strong one, to the program, and any ongoing professional development that you can work in throughout the summer. We do have some evaluation requirements. We are hoping to do observations on your site once over the summer, just to check in with the member and your site to see whether or not your activities that you've developed through this service program or the service opportunity are of quality and align with the Dimensions of Success tool. So not a huge investment in evaluation. Obviously, since it's just over the summer, it's hard to work in a significant amount of evaluation, and we're not looking for you to do surveys with youth or that youth level data measurement. We want to see that these activities are of quality and that the facilitation is good. And then finally, all of these add up to a commitment to ensuring a good member experience. Because this is not just any staff person, it is not a staff person, it's not any volunteer, this is a service position. We want to recognize that this is a unique position in your program, and we want to know that you have a commitment to making sure that the member experience is a good one, where you recognize the sacrifice that they're making. They're not receiving a lot of a huge living allowance for their time. Obviously, their time is not heavily reimbursed or covered at a very competitive, if it was a wage, it wouldn't be extremely competitive. So we want to recognize that this is a special circumstance and that we're very appreciative and supportive of their experience or their time served. I'll open it up to questions if you have any about this opportunity. We're hoping that we can recruit interested sites to at least complete this interest survey online by the end of the week, hopefully. We've got pretty good interest at this point, but we want to give everyone a chance to at least tell us that they're interested. There might be some questions that you can't answer at this point. That's fine. We'd like you to do your best in completing the survey. If you just don't know if you can work it into your budget yet, that's okay. We want to know that you're interested at least. And there might be options down the road in the near future to help figure out ways that we can come up with that cost share. So we're willing to work with you. This is our first year, so we're learning a few things, but we'd like you to take some time to fill out that interest survey The link is here. The PDF of this document is also in your files pod, as they call it, which is in the lower right-hand corner. So take some time, go through the survey, see if it's something of interest to you. If it is, please complete that survey, and we would be happy to work with you as a host site this summer. Before we end here, any questions for Chad or myself before we close out?
Hey, Michelle, this is Amanda.
Yeah, hi, Amanda.
St. Mark. Hi. Hey, just a quick question. In regard to, like, recruitment of members, so basically, because of the partnership, you know, with the Iowa Afterschool Alliance, we would just kind of format like a draft of a description of what this person would look like, and then we actually find that person and share them with you? Is that how that works?
It will be, and like I said, this is our first year, so we don't quite know definitively what that relationship and partnership is going to look like. I envision that we'll both do some recruiting. We'll work with you to develop, there has to be some general language around the what we're calling a job description or service agreement, service description, because it will be somewhat unique to your program, and your program will have some recruiting language, I'm sure. We will definitely defer to you if you have experience recruiting service members, or for that matter, employees, where to go that are the best places to recruit. I think local universities will be a huge partner in this recruitment effort in this program, just because of the service period that we're looking at over the summer. That's not to say that we don't want to be creative in our recruiting, because an AmeriCorps member can be from age 17 to 18 to any age. So we can be very inclusive or exclusive in our recruitment. We'll figure out what that relationship or partnership looks like best, based on your capacity to recruit, as well as our knowledge of your local job market or the market for this service opportunity. So it will be a really close partnership based on what your capacity and expectation is for your role in the recruitment. But definitely the host site as well as the Iowa Afterschool Alliance are both going to be doing some recruiting activities.
Okay, great. I just was asking, we work with the local universities. That's a great idea, as well as some other facets here in town. And I know we work with some other AmeriCorps programs, and we are getting them all of the stuff needed because they need that by the end of February. So I was just trying to wrap my brain around, you know, if we were chosen, how that would look, and the time process with getting things posted with the universities here.
We definitely feel the pressure to get the word out about this opportunity. So I would like to let you know whether or not you've been selected by the end of this week or early next week. I think we can start moving forward with some of those selections. As far as making the final decision on a member, that will also need to be a partnership, because ultimately the host site, of course, you have some responsibility in ensuring that this is a good person to bring into your program and on your site and working with your kids. But also the program has some responsibility in ensuring that this is a good person to bring on to the program and serve at your host site. Thinking further down the line, the Corporation for National and Community Service does require that the program conduct background checks, and they're quite extensive. We have money budgeted for background checks. So I understand that some programs will have to do their own. That's fine. But just know that we'll have that responsibility in vetting members on the compliance side. we'll partner with you to ensure that they fit within your culture and your program. But just know that we have to complete some pretty extensive background checks that include fingerprints and all the state check and sex offender registry, all of those, but we do the fingerprint check as well, the background check. So it will be a definite partnership. We recognize that you know your program best, and so we'll be a part of that vetting, but also partner with you to make sure that we have the best people as members at your site. So thanks for that question. Well, great. If there aren't any more questions, I want to thank Chad from Volunteer Iowa for being here and relaying a lot of great information. Just know that you have options in national service, and it's a great opportunity to bring in some really dedicated people to your program and help fulfill your mission with youth and to your community. So be thinking Vista in the capacity building, think AmeriCorps State for the direct service, and then NCCC for these time-limited projects where you need a lot of hands on deck. So those are great options for programs. Think creatively about how you might utilize these programs, and we'd always be happy to brainstorm with you on how you can best bring in members to